Hi, and welcome back to Football Made Simple.
One of Europe's biggest rivalries took center stage when Barcelona hosted Real Madrid in El Clasico. Koeman is under increasing pressure, whilst Madrid have quietly made a strong start to the season. In the end, Los Blancos came away 2-1 winners thanks to goals by Alaba and Vázquez, while Sergio Aguero scored the consolation for Barca. The XG was fairly close, but Real was clinical with their chances. But what tactics did both managers use? Let's take a look.
A quick reminder of the formations used by both sides, as seen on the OneFootball app. OneFootball will get you match updates, formation updates, as well as player and team stats, and so much more. And the best part is, you can get it absolutely free through the sponsored link in the description below.
Let's begin with Madrid in possession. In open play, Madrid could initially line up with their default back four, and often Barca looked to press higher up with a shape that could vary, but it was always with a high line. At times, Memphis would come in off the left-hand side into a centre-forward position alongside Fati, with the midfield staying man-to-man. This meant that the Real fullbacks were the only outlet options, and with Memphis central, Barca often tried to filter the ball down Madrid's left, where Dest could then more aggressively press Mendy. Alternatively, we did see Barcelona look to be more protective of the wide regions at times, which meant that Dest would remain deeper and Memphis wider left, and in such scenarios it would be Gavi from midfield who would then look to press the second centre-back, meaning Barca could maintain a 4-4-2 but be better protected in the wide regions. So, by having Dest and Mengueza, defensively, Barca could easily shift between a back 5 and a back 4. Real looked to exploit the wide regions time and again, particularly the left-hand side. This is because there could be positional confusion between Mengueza and Dest as to when they were meant to be in a 4 or a 5, but also because Mengueza isn't particularly quick as a right-back, which was a dangerous prospect as Barca were defending with a high line. Kroos was often the key, dropping to left centre-back, although he and Mendy could rotate, as this would immediately outnumber Barcelona's pressing 2, but Real would also have a 3 vs 2 advantage in the wide regions now. And with Gavi often pressing high, Madrid could afford to do this, as they would still have at least a 2 vs 2 in midfield. This would often leave Dest in two minds. We saw that when he looked to press Kroos, Vinicius could move narrow, dragging in Mengueza with him, meaning that now Mendy was potentially free to receive behind the high line. If Dest opted to remain deeper, Kroos was now in acres of space, and even from this deep left position, he can dictate the game both short and long, and he did end with the most touches and passes for the side. But particularly in the first half, the goal was to exploit the space behind Mengueza. This could be in direct 1 vs 1 situations, where when Dest was drawn higher, it allowed Vinicius to be 1 vs 1, where he could use his dribbling skills to take on his man, and he completed a game-high 4 dribbles. Alternatively, with the Kroos from deep left or the centre-backs from midfield for more central regions, the longer ball was a consistent option as Mengueza isn't quick, so it became a game of pace with Vinicius usually coming out on top. The space behind Mengueza is exploited for the goal on the transition. Vinicius draws Mengueza high and gets past him before finding the pass. Mengueza doesn't have the recovery pace, so Alaba can attack the space, leading to an excellent goal. In the second half, Koeman adapted, shifting to a dedicated 4 with the quicker Dest at right back to deal with Vinicius' pace more efficiently. But let's look at Barcelona in possession. When in possession, Barcelona were a more dedicated 4-3-3, with Dest as a definite right winger. And in the first half we saw the stark difference between having a dedicated fullback like Alba makes in comparison to Mengueza. Down the left, Alba could move high and wide early on in the attack, which would allow Memphis to come infield and operate in a centre-forward role alongside Fati, or even drop into the midfield. In the first half, Barca's right-hand side structure cost them in an offensive manner. First of all, Mengueza tended to stay deep when Barcelona attacked, and whilst Dest is good as an offensive fullback, he wouldn't be able to beat Mendy in 1 vs 1 situations. A more attacking fullback would have been more willing to overlap and perhaps create a 2 versus 1 advantage if the Real forward was slow to track back. But having Dest was also a disadvantage at times, as he only tended to hug the touchline and look to whip crosses in. More traditional wingers are more comfortable coming infield, potentially opening up space for that overlap as discussed, although Mengaitha wasn't suited to this. Being able to operate in the half space could also have opened up space for potential switches. Koeman looked to compensate with his midfield, with Busquets and De Jong becoming a double pivot, which would then give Gavi more freedom to operate in the right half space to try and draw Mendy in. This was less effective, as with Mengaitha deep, Real could cope in a 2 versus 2 scenario rather than a 3 versus 2. Bringing on Coutinho for Mengaitha and dropping Dest to right back made a difference. Gavi was nominally the right winger, but would come infield to create a diamond, facilitated by the attacking Dest being willing to overlap unlike Mengaitha. Now, they had width and a 4 versus 3 in midfield, meaning if Real looked to press high, Barcelona could potentially receive between the lines and advance. More central numbers also meant more numbers attacking the box, so the previously ineffective crosses had more men attacking them. We see a bit of this in the final goal, with Dest giving all the width and several Barca men looking to attack the cross. Overall, once they went ahead, Real Madrid were in cruise control, maintaining the lead without looking bothered most of the time. Koeman, on the other hand, will rue the early missed chance that Dest had, which altered the course of the game. But leave what you made of the match down below. And on the manager tactical score, Ancelotti gets a solid 7, due to his early setup of the team, although Real did look a bit vulnerable at certain points. And in isolation, Koeman's tactics today weren't terrible, meaning that he earns a middling 5 due to his attempted adaptation in the second half. But leave your ratings down below with the fire emoji so I can easily search them. And if you enjoyed this video, you may also enjoy the FMS Patreon. On Patreon, you'll get early access to videos, exclusive videos, as well as the ability to vote on various polls and so much more. It's a great way to support the channel, and it is now cheaper than ever. All you have to do is head over to patreon.com/footballmadesimple, or press the card in the top right or the end card at the end of this video. A special thanks to my patrons including Whale and Ricardo Caputo.
But that's all for today, and remember, keep it simple.